Inside PressBox is presented by Freedmont Mortgage. Don't make a 30-year mistake by choosing the wrong lender. Go to Freedmont.com now for all of your mortgage needs. And welcome to another edition of Inside PressBox. I'm your host, Stan the Fan Charles. On this week's program, we'll visit with a PressBox favorite, Miss Ali Andrzejewski. Why a favorite, you ask? Well, she's taken her love of soccer and created an amazing give back to the sport, and in particular, the residents of Nicaragua and Belize. She's just back from her yearly sojourn there. We'll take a more detailed look at the new issue of PressBox through our Photo of the Week, which highlights our new, expanded post-Super Bowl look at all things having to do with Baltimore sports, in particular, the Ravens' romp to victory and the local aftermath of a second Super Bowl win by the Ravens. But first, he was our man in New Orleans. He worked himself to the bone, giving our readers great coverage the week of the big game. He's back now and joins us, our PressBox Ravens beat reporter, Joe Platania. And Joe, how was the Big Easy?
It wasn't easy. It was a work trip. It was a lot of fun. As everyone knows, I do love my job, and Super Bowl week is unlike anything anybody could ever experience before, and it was 8 days of a lot of writing, a lot of talking, a lot of interviewing, a little bit of sightseeing, a little bit of fun, but mostly there to chronicle one of the biggest events in Baltimore sports history. That is the Ravens' second trip to the Super Bowl and a second successful trip to get that Vince Lombardi trophy.
So now, you always hear teams talk about what an incredible run it was together. Was there much camaraderie up in the press box? Not no pun intended. I mean, were you and Matt Zenitz and guys like Jay Michael aware of this run and kind of feeling camaraderie amongst yourselves?
Well, what basically we were feeling is when you cover a team as constantly as guys like us do over a long period of time, you become kind of acclimated to their philosophy, the way they approach problem solving, basically. People on the outside, they look at the injuries the Ravens had and they think, oh, they can't overcome this, they can't overcome that, without really getting underneath the surface. They're a little too superficial about it on the outside, which is why a lot of people around here talk about them as naysayers. When you become exposed to a team's philosophy, you kind of buy into it a little bit more, but still with the same media-bred skepticism that we've always had.
Well, let's go back a few weeks, though, okay? Let's go back to that day after the Washington Redskins game when John Harbaugh announced he was making the change, at offensive coordinator. Talk a little bit about when he said we can still be a great football team. All of the things we want to do are out there in front of us, like playing in the Super Bowl, like Ray Lewis and Joe Flacco. Did you really believe that, A, it was possible, and B, that it was going to happen?
Well, you can't know at that point if it was going to happen, but yeah, John Harbaugh's been around for 5 years now. It's kind of hard to believe because time flies and it doesn't care whether you're having fun. But if John Harbaugh had said that in his first year on the job, there would have been a lot more skepticism surrounding it. But you know he's the kind of guy who embraces the challenge, he enjoys the work, he enjoys the process. And more often than not, even before 2012, it had been successful. So you kind of had the feeling it could happen, but you really had no way of knowing that it would, especially the time of the season you make a change like that in your coaching staff. All
right, the game itself, the Super Bowl, after 2 weeks of hype and you're down there for 7, 8 days prior to the game itself, what was the game like, and what did you expect it to be, and what was it for you?
Well, we expected it to be a close, entertaining football game, and through a rather circuitous route, short circuitous route, no pun intended, that's what we got with the power outage and everything connected with that. So we got the close game we expected, not quite in the way we expected, but when you have two teams coached by very similar men, brothers as we know, similar personalities, similar philosophies, who had met each other last Thanksgiving and played a 10-point game that was closer than the score indicated, the way it ended up was not a surprise. The way we got there, it certainly was.
Joe, what do you say about that game a year prior at Thanksgiving being the pivotal moment in Jim Harbaugh's thoughts about what he had in Alex Smith versus Colin Kaepernick? Well, 9 sacks in that game.
Right, we touched on that in our Super Bowl game story the night of the game. San Francisco used Colin Kaepernick in that read option pistol offense. But they really didn't have a choice when you consider what happened last Thanksgiving. A Ravens set a team record with 9 sacks against Alex Smith, who had played rather well before the Niners made that switch. But San Francisco had to come up with something different against the Ravens pass rush, which had come to life a little bit in the playoffs as the defense got healthier.
Take us through that last series when San Francisco had the ball. You're there chronicling it, you're writing about it, you're supposed to be objective, but what were you feeling at that time? Did you think they were on the precipice of that goal line stand?
It's something that had to be done to hold the Niners out of there. I think a play that a lot of people haven't really mentioned as a key one was Frank Gore's 33-yard run around left end.
That Pernell McVie. Was it McVie?
I don't think it was McVie. I think Ed Reed slowed him up, and Donnell Ellerby kind of finished it off. Ellerby, to be honest, one of the few Ravens on defense that has any speed. But Ed Reed got to him first. Ellerby finished it off. All of a sudden, the ball's on the 7-yard line. So you got to be thinking, okay, this is Ray Lewis's last game. It's up to the defense to hold him out of there. And maybe with a few questionable no calls from the officials, they did. 30 seconds or less.
Dean Pease, what he decided to do there, it was the right thing to do. Did they respond correctly to the all-out pass rush?
You mean the 49ers respond? Yeah, well, they certainly had to, but Dean Pease had the right idea all night long, not just on that stand, to rattle the young kid who only had 9 starts coming into that Super Bowl, 3rd fewest ever. Although Jeff Hostetler did win a Super Bowl after 6 starts. Kaepernick, he was young. You have to play your experience card, and Flacco certainly had it over Kaepernick.
All right, we're going to continue with Joe Platania. When we get back, we'll take a look at our photo of the week and continue our chat with Joe Platania. Inside PressBox is presented by Friedmont Mortgage. Don't make a 30-year mistake by choosing the wrong lender. Go to Friedmont.com now for all of your mortgage needs.